So I just want to tell you guys how excited I am. Today we have the most wonderfully talented and sweet human being on the planet, Cezanne Allen, who, if I remember correctly, is the executive director of Bainbridge Youth Services, who is coming to let us know about Bainbridge Youth Services for those who don't know a lot about it, and also any and all of the awesome things that they have been doing up to 2020 and how they've reacted to this really big time and what they're up to. Cezanne, thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. It's great to be here and great to be with all of you today. I'm excited to come and just share a bit about Bainbridge Youth Services. If you know about Bainbridge Youth Services, would you mind raising your hand? I see some people do, and I can't see everybody in my screen, but I'll give you a little background about who we are. We've been around since 1962, so we're kind of an island institution. Our mission is to support the social and emotional well-being of young people, ages 12 to 21. And what we're often known most for is our jobs board, because it's been around for so long. So it used to be a a true board, a bulletin board, where community members could post a job that they had for a teen, and then teens would come by and they'd snag some of the phone numbers. We've now changed that to a virtual jobs board. So that goes out to a list of 500 young people. And I can share, our jobs board right now is on hold during this stay-at-home place time. But what we offer youth is free and confidential counseling. So kids can self-refer, because the age of mental health consent is age 13. So kids can come and not have to worry about insurance or money, and seek support and get new skills that help them during that kind of tumultuous time of adolescence. And we also have a number of other programs, such as our jobs board and some work exploration opportunities, a peer tutoring program, which is free. And young people that are in high school can tutor kids, either their same age, all the way down to little kids. And boy, I wish you guys could see it when it's up and running and in person, because the relationships between these high school kids and the way these little kids look up to them is beautiful. And they often will do things for a high school student they wouldn't for their parents. We also have a juvenile diversion program where kids that would otherwise go through the court system get diverted, and we have this set of volunteers where they're able to be diverted from the court and into more of a restorative justice approach, which focuses on helping that young person grow and make amends with whoever they impacted. What else? We also offer leadership opportunities for young people and other ways for kids to learn about themselves, such as a program that offers kids a chance to learn design thinking. So that's who we have been. We serve about 1,000 young people a year. And our counseling program alone, we had 213 students come through in 2019.
That's pretty amazing. And it's so funny because I think people have, my experience of Bainbridge Youth Services is they have one of two views of Bainbridge Service. Either it's a jobs board for young people, so a way for people to come and be a part of finding some work for the summer or something for their community service work or something like that. Also, the mental health side as well, a place for support. And it's very often that people either have a one view or another view of Bainbridge Youth Services, but it also sounds like you're doing even a broader thing than that, like much more around almost apprenticeship and, sort of job skills and or leadership development stuff.
Yeah, we're trying, we see that what we're about is about building strengths in young people. And that can be when kids, need us because they're having problems through counseling or through tutoring. But it's also about affirming that, all of us need to build strengths and skills for the road ahead, and that it's, there are other ways to use BYS services. I think you really nailed it on the head.
Well, that's so great. Now, so strange times. I think we were talking about before you jumped on the call, we were saying in these unprecedented times, I find myself continuing to struggle with figuring out what to call all this.
Right.
So paint us a picture. What was life looking like at BYS?
Yeah.
Before late January? Like,
Yeah.
what was the new year rolling out looking like?
Oh, well, I would love to have had you, all of you on this call to have seen it, because we just moved into this new building. We took what used to be Big Kids. Perhaps many of you on the call had some relationship to Big Kids Daycare, which was right across from the school, or from the pool, I mean, and has a long history. We took that down to the studs and rebuilt it with teen influences. So we did focus groups, and they helped us build it in a way that made them feel safe and comfortable and welcome. So it's bright yellow. You can still see it if you go to the pool, but it had a life and a hum that was really exciting. We had in the mornings, once a week before school, we had therapy dogs come. And then one day we had like 50 kids come and love on these dogs before school. Throughout this course of the school day, kids would come in for counseling sessions because they were able to leave school for a period of time. And then after school, we had tutoring, and there was this hum and a pulse of kids helping kids, and this leadership group that meets on Mondays. So I can't tell you the excitement of having a building of our own where kids found the support and the groups they needed to thrive.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the two things that totally jumped out. First of all, even though you said therapy dogs, I immediately was gone. I was like, oh, just pouring love down on dogs who are therapy dogs.
Yeah.
How great is that? Like, whether kids need support, I think we all need a little therapy dog from time to time.
Absolutely.
But that had to be a huge win to be able to secure a location so close to the school, so students didn't have to make difficult arrangements or have to answer questions from peers or about where they were going to be able to access especially the mental health services stuff.
Exactly. It took one more barrier away of having to have some sort of transportation. It was very, very easy to obtain. And we have a close working relationship with the school, but we are not funded by the school. That's just one myth that often comes up. We are totally self-funded as an organization through the generosity of donors as well as grants. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So there you are. New year, new building. You got the hum, you got the heartbeat, you got the therapy dogs. We're all there.
And then boom, everything changes. So that I think school was canceled on like the 12th of March. And we quickly saw, once they said they're not opening school back up, that we have to do our services differently. We have to reach out in a different way. So on the 16th of March, we opened up and offered virtual counseling, securing a portal, a video portal that was HIPAA compliant. And we started to send the word that we were offering free tutoring virtually. And that's what we've been continuing to do. So we see about 50 or more students a month in our virtual counseling program. And then we opened it up because we know being home in this intense togetherness, with parents being asked to do so much work and watch your kid go to school, and this 24/7, that we needed to offer support to parents too. So we opened it up to parent coaching that's free. And its parents of any school-aged child can get up to 6 to 8 sessions with, it's one of our counselors, but it's more of a coaching model where it's about them building the skills to maintain the relationship with their young person. Our tutoring program is continuing. Oh, and there's one program I failed to mention, and that is a relationship we have with the Senior Center, where students that have any interest in technology come and support the seniors of the Senior Center in their technology needs. And unfortunately, right now, that's on hold. We also, that leadership group is working on building a sense of community through a project they called Mailbox Rocks BI. And you might look, if you're taking a walk around town, if you see painted rocks at the bottom, the base of a mailbox, that was the idea of a group of teenagers to share a sense of support and camaraderie with others on the island. So they have either hope or just they're pretty, or they have words of inspiration on them.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's so, I know that I find this for myself is finding ways that you can contribute, with whatever skill set or intention that you have is so important during this time. It's not only important to be able to support others who may be struggling, but it's also so great to be able to support you as well. Like it gives you a little bit of a sense of purpose.
Totally. I think everybody wants to feel like they can contribute. And this is one small way that they have found that they can do that. They also started every other week, they're hosting with an adult facilitator a support group sort of like this, where there's an activity that's brought into the room where people can join a Zoom call, and either paint rocks together virtually or cook a meal or some sort of a recipe together. I think this coming week it's yoga. But again, connection and contribution is super important to all of us, especially during this time.
That's so great. So, how has, like, what are some of the takeaways that you have experienced? Like you've had to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour to continue being able to offer even the primary services that you do. Mm-hmm. What are some of the takeaways from your experience?
I'd say it's that people have a strong desire to connect. And the other experience is that things that take more time now when you can't have that office interaction. So I see the opportunity is in finding more ways to create connection between not only our staff, but obviously in the kids we serve. And the challenges that we have are in staying connected as an organization and having our workflow in this virtual space keep humming along. I think we're doing pretty well in that regard. But it is more it takes more energy. Yeah. We also are looking to the events that we had planned to raise money and keep our doors open and moving have all been kind of also blown out of the water. But we will be looking at how we replace our virtual fun run and some of our other fundraising activities.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation for nonprofits all over our community. Absolutely. Who are trying to figure that. I sit on the board of another organization that's having the same conversation.
Yes.
And their fundraise, the person who's responsible for their fundraising is trying to figure it out. And funnily enough, that's me. So yeah, that was a good time to volunteer for that position. So you offer free tutoring.
Yes. Yeah.
And how has that, what is your experience like? I know that we've faced some significant challenges with moving from in-person school to virtual school. Yeah. And I'm curious what your experience has been of that for our students.
Yeah. So we have a number of tutors that are really committed to that program. They love it. They love tutoring. And so we try to match their interest in tutoring to needs that a student has. So if we may have a Spanish tutor, we try to do the matching, and then the two of them meet when it's convenient for them through some sort of app like FaceTime or Google Meet, whatever works for them. So at this point, we are the connector of of a need and a resource. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. And parent coaching.
Yeah.
New thing. How's that going?
Oh, I think it's going well. I think, just having the support of somebody else is huge. So support is number one, to normalize that this is a tough time to be a parent, as if it wasn't already a difficult or challenging job. And now, with all the different roles parents are being asked to play, and the stress of uncertainty in so many realms, economic, social, I think it's a stressful time to be a parent. So if we can be helpful in offering them tools and support, then I think we've helped the youth that live in their home as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Self-management is an unrecognized skill set. And I think a lot of people are facing in this time that the amount of energy they invest in sort of keeping themselves sort of centered and balanced,
Totally.
or as my mother would have said, pulled together.
Right.
Takes a lot more than expected. And then when you add on top of that outside influences like work and or needing to support a student who's in school and be their sort of virtual teacher, that can push some folks really over the top. I'm curious, just have you seen a rise in the outreach for support services, because this is a challenging time, and kids who are living in homes that are compromised, either financially or emotionally, I can only imagine that this kind of time runs the risk of doubling down on that.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly make all the students and anyone aware of the services available around us, and we work through. Also, Bainbridge Community Foundation has something called the Yes Funds for students, which offers, if there's a need, tangible need for, could be shoes or clothes or whatever, that there are, activities that help enrich their lives, that we help connect them to resources. Yeah. So I'd say to some extent, yes, there has been more of a need. And we are so blessed to live on this island that has pretty good, infrastructure. Certainly, nothing is perfect, but boy, we have wonderful organizations working together to help.
Yeah. I thought one of the sort of, I want to call it a gift because it really raised my awareness. But one of the big challenges that the schools faced when the shelter-in-place order came down and the schools were going to close was the spotlight it put on the number of school lunches that were being provided, even in our community, to students who otherwise needed that kind of food support. And so what we're really talking about is students who otherwise wouldn't get a lunch, or wouldn't otherwise, this may be the one or one of the meals they get for a day that they otherwise would not get. Yeah. So, or as much as, the highlighted of students are the athletes or the ones who are doing really academically well and are striving, and they are the ones who often get the light shined on them, shined. Yeah. There are a quiet percentage of students who really struggle in their homes. Yeah. Whether that be financially, or with the home situation, with the kind of support they get, and or the support they don't get, and so that this is a time, and I for me, like why I say it was a gift, because it's a reminder to me
Yeah.
that it's really easy to focus on, the kids who are doing well, or the school that is doing its best to be successful, when there are always going to be students who are struggling and are in need of more help than even a good school system that can provide.
Right, exactly. I have to say kudos to the school for offering lunches to any kid who, regardless of, not asking anything about socioeconomics, because that can change. And that providing not only meals for that day, lunch for that day, but extra, breakfast the next morning, and um, really being sensitive to that and the needs that kids are feeling. The other thing that I know the school is doing is really trying to reach out to all the kids that they don't hear much from, having teachers check in. I know the conversations that have gone on behind the scenes to try as best they can to make sure that every kid has somebody looking out for them,
Hmm.
to make sure that they're checking in as best they can. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of this stay-at-home time, making sure that everybody had access to technology with Chromebooks and the like, so that it was an more even playing field, that everybody could access school.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to, in just a second, I'm going to open up the floor for questions.
Sure.
So if you are listening to Cezanne speak and you have a question for her about what they're doing, or what their history's like, or how one of their programs are working, or to expand more on their programs, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself in just a sec. You're telling us, Cezanne, how much you are already doing for the community as an organization. I'm curious, what are the needs that BYS has? What are some of the things that, if you got to wave a magic wand during a difficult time and say, boy, this is the thing that would really make a big difference for our organization to be able to support more folks, what would that thing be?
Thank you for asking that. Well, one would be supporting, say, the fun run, to help us keep the ability to be nimble and to respond to needs as they arrive. So our fun run is coming up this summer, and you can do whatever physical activity you want. Walking with it's all on our website, because it will be virtual this year. And as we move into the future, we will. One of our goals is to have more volunteer paths, of ways to be involved in that regard. Um, One thing they can do, anyone on this call can do, is be aware of any young person in the community that goes above and beyond kind of the call of duty of whatever they're doing. We have a celebration in November called this Compassionate Action Celebration. And we honor young people who are offering acts of compassion or service. And the gift that you give to them is seeing them, writing a short note saying, hey, when you did X, Y, or Z, it impacted me or the people around me in this way. And getting a note like that of gratitude from somebody is really, really impactful. So that's one other way that I would love support from anyone in this group.
And that's the Compassion Action
Compassionate
celebration.
Celebration, and those that link to the form will happen in late September, early November.
And while we're speaking, I'm putting a number of links up in the chat,
Okay.
which will take folks to any of these pages so that they can review to them. Well, very cool. You ready to open up the floor and see if some folks got some questions or some
Absolutely.
comments?
Sounds good.
Excellent. Well, if you are in the call and you'd like to provide some support and or feedback or have a question for Cezanne, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask it this time. This is a great time. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, they were just chatty Cathy before you got here, Cezanne. Now they're all shy.
That's okay.
Cezanne,
Yeah.
you mentioned in your talk, at the end of your talk, you said design thinking.
Yeah.
The program design. What is that?
Oh, thank you for asking. So it's a new form it's used in business, and design thinking is ways that you can use creativity to design a new gadget, so to speak, like the Apple mouse was designed using, it's also called human-centered design, where you look at how humans interact with things and use them. There's a whole framework around it, like brainstorming and prototyping. What we've done out of Stanford, there was a whole curriculum that said, the way we are designing a thing, we can use those same principles to designing a threshold of our next stage of life. And for students, it's like, what do I want to do next? So we teach them design thinking skills, and we say, you know what? Let's use some of these skills, and it's very experiential, to what you want to do next. It could be going to college. It could be something else. And we've done it the last 2 summers with Sue Barrington from the Parks Department. And it has been such a gift to the students. They loved it because they got a deeper understanding of what they care about. And they had tools to go out and talk to other people who are doing some of the things they want to be doing.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Is this program listed on your website?
Our website is about to be upgraded, so forgive me if it's not there. It may or may not be something we can do this summer because it is so experiential. But it's called, if you want to look it up, it's called Design Your Life, and there's a book about it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Good
Stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
For say a student who hasn't been involved in your programs at all, but during this sort of stressful period, they wouldn't really have a clue of what's going on. How would somebody that isn't familiar with the program but might need a little help at this time, how would they go about connecting?
Great question. So what we did when we went virtual is we realized that our normal way of connecting with young people wasn't happening, which was normally putting it in school announcements and putting up flyers at the school. So we sent a postcard home to over 2,000 students. We called it a support card. It was designed by kids in our leadership department. And it had information about how to get an appointment if you needed some extra support. It also had a little fill in the blank of who your support team is, because we want people to remember all the people in their life that are there for them if they need them. But you can pick up the phone. It's on our website, phone or email. And we'll get back with them within about 24 hours.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really think that that's such a great question, right? Like, you don't know what you don't know. And if somebody doesn't know about the organization, how are they going to find out with them, especially when we're all staying at home? And a postcard reach out's a big deal, but also just the word of mouth, like Cezanne being able to come and be a part of this conversation today and raise the awareness for everybody on the call that if they run into a youth or a family who are really struggling, who might be able to use the support, we can just direct them to Bainbridge Youth Services. And they've got a great web portal, and they've got phone numbers, plastered all over the place. You can send an email, you can do it anonymously. There's there's lots of things, and you know, I appreciate I know what it takes to find to move your services from an in-person to online and have it be HIPAA compliant. That's not a small thing. And HIPAA compliant really just speaks to me the level of how seriously that you take the confidentiality appropriately, and how great that is.
Yeah, thank you.
Who else has a question for Cezanne?
If nobody does, I have a question for you.
Who? Hit us up.
Well, I see that, you know, in this group, you all of you are adults that have had, including myself, we've had lots of time to have experiences, deal with adversity, overcome adversity, or find our way. I'm curious what advice you would give a young person today dealing with this current adversity of this current pandemic. What would be your words of wisdom if you were to talk to a young person?
Yeah. So if you saw somebody who was really struggling during this time and you wanted to provide them something that would help give them some peace of mind, what would you say?
Well,
I think that you need to talk about making lemonade out of lemons, and that this pandemic offers some major opportunities for growth in the future, in ways that will completely change the world. And this is not going to, we will not revert back to the way it was. It's going to be Zoom meetings. It's going to be virtual meetings of all kinds. It's going to require some real creative thinking from a business and personnel perspective. And I think that there are some opportunities that need to be thought about from that perspective, rather than sitting around here chewing your fingernails, worrying about whether or not you're going to catch this virus. So opportunity prevails here, in my opinion.
Love that. Thank you. Yeah. So it's not just gloom and doom. There's opportunity here.
Yeah, I don't believe this is gloom and doom at all. It's just difficult to be able to handle it because we've never. This is truly unique, and but creativity prevails again.
Creativity, great. Thank you. Great wisdom. I know there's more wisdom here.
I don't know. I think communicating with your peers, brainstorming, getting together, talking about your feelings, I think is huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is a big thing. Also, just being flexible and adaptable to new things. I think we live in a community that's sort of already done that. You know, we really do accept diversity and whatnot, but using those skills, actually putting them into working it, I guess you could say. And I just remember being young and going through the 70s during the Vietnam War, and I was kind of a protester. My parents were waiting for a phone call to see if I was in jail. But being open to different ideas and just keeping an open mind and talking with your peer group, but also talking to your elders and younger siblings and friends too. We're, again, we all say this, we're in together, in this together. So yeah, just keeping an open mind.
Open mind, connection.
Yeah,
communication, flexibility is what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would think of one particular thing. By the way, Karen, I'm surprised you haven't changed a bit. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for the chief to call us. I think I'm first on the list. Well, I might not be. I'll be there with you. I don't know, Cezanne. I think what I would say is somehow to find something that is unique that you haven't tried before. Something new. And there's just so many ways, because we do have the computer, to find out new ways of tackling new things. You've talked about all those things that you are doing, that you're tackling in a different way. But these would be, it might be a book. It might be a way of painting. It might be going out and investigating how many flowers you can find on one walk. You might go and see what kind of birds you might find down at the waterfront. I will share Henrietta Heron with you, the great blue heron. She's down there every day in the afternoon. But you know, that something new that you haven't done before, that would progress from there on.
Yeah. Thank
That's
you.
good. That's
Yeah.
good.
I love that sense of curiosity and looking for what's possible and what's already here. Sense of awe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me that there's a couple things I look at it is like inviting somebody to take a look at, like, where would they like to be on the backside of this, right? Like, we can use this time any way we want, and if it supports us just to sort of take care of ourselves and lay low, that's super great. But there's also the opportunity to say, like, where would you like to be when this comes out, when it's time to go back to school, when it's time to go back to work, when it's time to get back into the day-to-day, when things are going to accelerate really quickly and we're all going to be thrown back into the whirlwind we call everyday life. What would you like to create for yourself? What would you like to have be different? How would you like to interact with yourself differently? Or, you know, would you like to do something different? And for those kids or adults even who are having a hard time just managing in the moment, like, this is that thing that's, you know, it's like, we're in week 9. My God, how long is this going to go on? It's just that nothing ever lasts forever, right? Everything changes over time. And, you know, picture back some challenging time that they had in their past, whether it's, you know, the first time they went away to sleepaway camp, or, you know, or the first time they did poorly in a class, or, you know, that time that they lost their job, or whatever the thing is, and how difficult it was in the moment. But now it just seems like a blip on the radar, and that this time is no different than that. We will never forget this time, but it is going to become just a piece of how we sculpted who we are today.
I love that. I love that, beginning with the end in mind. What do you want when you leave? And then the bigger perspective of, like, this is not forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
You bet.
I just thought of another thing it could do is write what's going on with me at this particular time. Write and share and keep it for posterity, because they're going to I have great grandkids, you know, kind of thing. They're going to have great kids too, who are going to ask, so what was it like when, you know? It would be sort of fun to see, and then have people share, so that they could sort of add to the information that they have, and so on and so forth. But just sort of write down what's going on, maybe day to day, diary type thing, or even a monthly type thing, or a weekly type thing rather, and what's going on. So just an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. What will it be like 50 years from now to, you know, to go back into, yeah, it'd be great to have a diary.
Love that.
Great. Anyone else? Good stuff.
Yeah. Cezanne, I just so want to thank you for coming and spending some time with us today, taking time out of your busy schedule, supporting all those families and kids
Pleasure.
out
This
there.
has been fun.
And I'm glad you finally got in here too.
Yeah. Well, it was a bit of a challenge, but I'm glad it worked out. My phone is what's working. So yeah. And thank you all for, any way you could spread the word about our services and make sure that more youth, are reminded about what's available, would be really helpful. Thank you.
Cezanne, thank you so much. We really appreciate your
Absolutely.
creativity.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Cezanne, if people wanted to reach out to you to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Oh, my email, Cezanne@BainbridgeYouthServices.org. It's a long word, but BainbridgeYouthServices.org. And it's Cezanne at.
And it's CEZANNE, correct?
You got it. Yes.
At BainbridgeYouthServices.com. That is up in the chat as well.
Yeah.
.org. Oh, no. Of course I screwed that up. And remember, everybody, that the video of today's call, as well as the video of the call, as well as the info that's in the chat, hopefully not the .com part, but the .org part, will be in the upcoming newsletter. If you're not signed up for the Senior Center newsletter, Reed puts it out. It's fantastic and includes lots of super valuable information. And I highly recommend you signing up for it. You can go over to the Bainbridge Island Senior Center to go check that out. And a big thank you, everybody. If you'd unmute and thank our friend Cezanne for coming to join us, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Cezanne.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for your wisdom.
Hopefully.
All right.